It's the most impressive performance I've seen him. And seeing he's been to 3 finals, his first one there with OKC, and to see where he was before in the Western Conference final when they were up 3-1, and how his attitude now in these big moments, it's totally changed. So he went to the right place for his personality. Now he's got to be able to work out some other things, but it's time to recognize him for who he is. I mean, he's one of the best scorers. He's a shot maker. And right now, at this point in his career, the situations aren't bigger than him. Anytime you can face LeBron James and be able to play the way that he's played, man, you got to give Kevin Durant credit. Man, he spent hundreds and thousands of hours in the gym working on his game so that last night that the world could see it. And as Nick said, man, he's got spots on the court, not 3 spots, not 5 spots. He's got 10 spots on the court where he is totally comfortable. And to me, Steph is dangerous because of the length for which he can shoot. But I would much rather face Steph day to day than to face Kevin Durant day to day because his overall length, and he doesn't need a pick. He doesn't need to run off a screen. He can take you one-on-one. He can take you off the bounce, and if you give it to him, he can just shoot it. So the number of offensive weapons that he has, I believe, is scarier than what Steph presents.
If on this 3-hour show today we spent all 3 hours talking about Kevin Durant, I'd be fine with it. This is the best game of the guy's career. Okay, this is a guy, you guys know how irrationally much I care about NBA history. This is a guy who will end up in the Pantheon. This is a guy who already is one of the 25 greatest players ever. And we saw his greatest game of his career last night. His playoff career high. Another iconic shot from almost the identical spot on the court that he hit the one in Game 3 last year, except this one was 5 feet further back. You mentioned scoring from anywhere on the court. I'm going to go a deep pull here for a moment. When KD's first couple years in the league, he reminded people of someone, a guy named Bernard King. So Bernard King played with the Knicks. He didn't look like Bernard King, but the reason he reminded him he could score from anywhere. Bernard King famously talked about how he only had 5 dribble moves. He had a dribble move if you regard him close right, far right, straight up, close left, far left. And he would pick 17 spots on the court. He would only practice from those 17 spots. So for him, it was all a math equation. Which of my 1 dribble moves do I need? Which of my 1 of 5? Which of my 1 of 17 spots? So he said, Bernard King said, look at my highlights. 95% of my points came from, I can draw them for you on the court. You know what KD's spots are? Every inch inside 35 feet. He doesn't have a spot he needs to get to. He will see where the defense is guarding him and say, whatever spot is easiest to get to, I will go get there. And he's played in 13 career finals games. He scored 25 points at least in all 13 career finals games. He's been great, man.
There's 3 levels of scoring the basketball. That's at the rim, in the paint. There's intermediate, which being the jump shot, and beyond the three-point arc. And he is great at all 3. Now, there is no one else in the NBA that can say they're great at all 3. He's the only player. He's the only player that can say he's great at all 3. But LeBron can't afford no more loss in the finals. Like, LeBron needs some wins. And now this one right here, 3-5 now, this would be 3-6. Like, no, he don't need to stay there because how much better is he going to get as a basketball player because they can't get better. They got the, ninth pick? Eighth pick.
And all their guys are locked up.
Yes, and they're an older roster. The style doesn't work. This is a super team that they're going against. Now, in the normal circumstances, if Kevin Durant was in OKC and Golden State was themselves as they exist, yeah, Cleveland would be in the running. But let's not, the talent, the existing non-relationship that he's got with the owner, a working relationship, right, Nick, you would call it. And I want to win more championships. Like, yes, these are the things for LeBron. So, no, he can't do that in Cleveland. He's done more than enough for any one player being from the state of Ohio coming back and providing that one championship that they did 2 seasons ago. But, no, I don't see him staying there. There are better options for him for his basketball career because this is what this is about. This is about basketball. And I believe that, man, he's got to leave. He can't stay there any longer.
Dan Wetzel of Yahoo Sports wrote an article late last night talking about the history of Cleveland sports. There's the fumble. There's the drive. There's Jose Mesa. And then he added a new one, the incompetence. And he's talking about having LeBron on your roster for 11 years. for 9 of those 11 years, he's the best player in the sport. And you get 1 title out of it. Miami had him for 4, got 2 out of it. The absolute inability the first time around to surround him with any all-star caliber players.
Yes.
And the absolute inability the second time around to retain your GM and then retain your all-world point guard that will now end up with him leaving twice. That's one Dan Gilbert has to own right on his chest. Because Dan Gilbert got a reprieve because he was lucky that he owned the team that not only won the lottery, he wasn't the owner when they won the lottery, but won the lottery that got LeBron, and most lucky that he owned the team closest to Akron, so LeBron came back, and now he's going to lose him again.
Nick, how important, personally, just from LeBron's camp, losing David Griffin, what did that do for them in the domino effect?
I think it was doubly bad. Here's why. One, they thought it was a betrayal because LeBron signs a multi-year deal for the first time after they win the championship. So this past offseason was the first one that LeBron couldn't threaten to leave. And this is the offseason that the owner, once again, is too cheap to retain his GM. Since Dan Gilbert has owned this basketball team, every GM he's ever hired has been there for either shorter than his first contract or just his first contract. He's never extended a GM. He's never gotten to a second contract. LeBron won a championship with David Griffin, trusted David Griffin. They don't bring him back, even though David Griffin wants to come back. And LeBron's people believe, so therefore I think LeBron believes, I haven't spoken to LeBron about this specifically, but that if David Griffin's there, Kyrie's still there. And if Kyrie's still there, they think all of this is different, and that they are more competitive, and that maybe they're the ones up 2-1 in these NBA Finals, as great as Golden State is. And so, will LeBron leave? Absolutely. Does he have a perfect place to go? No. There is no. I've been saying this for 2 months. The only team that fit-wise, you're like, that is perfect, is Portland. But he's not going to Portland. They don't have the cap space for it. They have the roster. You're like, oh, 2 great shooters. You can play. That one works. But so Philly is an option. Houston is an option. LA is an option. None of them are. I'm sure LeBron, to be totally honest with you, would like to stay in Cleveland 1 more year. See what the Lakers do. See what happens with Kawhi. See if a better fit opens up. But I would argue the Cavs and Dan Gilbert have forced his hand to where he can't stay in Cleveland another year, not if he wants to compete for a title.
But unlike last time, he has this beautiful luxury of being able to choose any team without anyone having any issues. Everyone seemingly knows he's leaving. There's no... I don't think Cleveland fans are expecting him to stay, whether they want him to or not. He can pick wherever he wants to go. We've got multiple teams on the table. There are reports that he's meeting with multiple teams. And he can choose where he thinks he wants to spend probably the last 4 or 5 years of his career, which is a luxury he didn't have the first time he left Cleveland.
Well, there was several things he didn't have. You make great points. There were several things he didn't have. He didn't have experience. He didn't have the backlash of making the decision. So how much smarter he got after that. He wasn't a champion. He wasn't a champion. I mean, he was considered to be a traitor. Born in Ohio, drafted in Ohio, going to bring a championship to Ohio. So when he left, and I'm going to tell you what LeBron don't have, and this is the most precious thing you got. That's age and time and youth. He was 25 then, Jenna. Now, he wasn't a champion, but at 33, this is the last move on the chessboard. If this don't put him in checkmate, if this don't get him to be the GOAT, then there are no moves after this.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from First Things First, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.